being native, even though I'm in my country, it's like we're not really seen and we're not really heard. It's like Cindy one time came in a bank with me, and we've been banking there a long time, and she was standing there and I was depositing a check. And the woman behind the wicket, who sees me every 2 weeks coming in from work to put in my check into her bank account, she ID'd me. She wanted my ID and that before, and she looked at my account and everything, and she'd do this to me all the time. And I'm like, and this has happened to me all my life. I've opened bank accounts because I'm native. They feel I have done something wrong, so I got to show my ID, even though it's the same person that sees me and I answer the same questions every week. Or I go down the street and people call me names and say things to me, and I just ignore it. People have said many stupid things to me over the years, and I'm like, why would a person say or think or do that? It's like, it's just plain silly, right? Mm-hmm. So I've always tried to figure out racism, and trying to speak out, you can't really get through their mental block. Like even on Facebook sometimes there's stuff. So I poke fun at my own culture and that too, with natives and that. I'll put really silly, a little cartoon thing or something, like an Indian pointing with his lips or something, You got to laugh at it all, right? You can't just be angry and frustrated and wanting to fight it all, like take down the man. It doesn't do any, it just makes more people angry.
Like, how can we shift out of those triggers and those lower energies, or how long do we stay in them? I think it's kind of like this feeling when I'm like, okay, I don't want to feel this way. The part of me wants to feel that way because it's like this drug, this like energy. But then I'm like, okay, no, how do I rein it in? And I feel like there's support there if we're asking, but sometimes like, do we ask, or how do we ask and just say like, hey guys, help me to like shift this energy to see it from a bigger perspective or something, so I don't feel so angry or triggered. And then it's like I see these, like in my imagination, it's like I'm seeing these beings standing there smiling with their hands out, and I almost want to be like, stop smiling, this isn't easy,
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you're there supporting us in everything that we do. But then there's this asking, it's wanting to shift out of it, or you can go down the angry hole and it will take you down.
So I want to show something here. I'm native, right? So this is a status card that we have. So I'm not sure if you can see it very clearly, but there's a bunch of numbers on it. There's one on the top, there's one on the bottom, and then this one tells where I'm from, like a Clavic Northwest territories, my band, and other things. And this number below right here tells the government who I am. So at the end it says 01. So that means I'm the first child of my mother.
Oh.
And then 02, 03, 04 and stuff like that. So all my brothers and sisters, this is a number. So anytime they type up this number, if they put number 2, my sister Violet will come up, or they put number 5, my brother George will come up. We all have this. We're all, because this card basically says, I'm the ward of the government. And the status people, like the natives, they say we really don't have right and title to any land. That's why they try to keep natives on reserves. And they try to keep us uneducated, so we won't stop and change that. And so there's lots of times I get really frustrated. There's so many things. I used to tell Cindy, in the future, I'm going to throw this away. And when people say, who are you? And I'm going down the street, I'm going to say, oh, I'm Bob Stardust. I'm an old hippie who smoked too much weed and pretend, I'm not a native or whatever, just coming up with this comical way of looking at things. Because with this, they can literally tell the police that they can take me and put me in a psych ward, and there's nothing I can say and do. So there's lots of things, and trying to help people understand this and stuff. And there's a lot of natives I don't say stuff because they really don't understand. And the federal government is the one that watches over us. And so there's like lots of crazy things. I studied, like when we did our land claims, we had to study racism and cultures from around the world, genocide and everything. And they brought in government officials and lawyers and everything. It taught us really lots of stuff about this stuff and how it impacts and how it affects and how it destroys. and how governments use that in a genocidal way, and they affected basically every culture. You can go back as far as you want, but like I say, I know a lot of these things, and I don't really share it with people because it's just in the system. But I believe that's going to break an end, and we're going to change all of that. And there's times where I'm like, I just want to get riled up and get so angry and fight with everybody and say all kinds of stuff. And I did in the past, and it just pulled me into lots of crazy chaos. And I'm like, I don't want to be in that. I want to live my life, and I want to see the future the way I was shown and told by the universe. So I focus on that, and I try to see that for everybody.
So how?
Letting the universe knows how to do it.
So
and there's
do
people
you
like
think
that.
Do you think there's a chance that Canada also falls apart in smaller pieces, like it's like people predict about the US?
I know the U.S. is going to really crumble and break apart. It's a prophecy that's over 200 years old, because they were warned not to go around and create a lot of chaos on the planet. If they did, it would come back on them. They just didn't understand that 200 years or later in the future, this would come back on them. So prophecy now is being fulfilled. Canada, from what I understand from the universe, there's an energy, and the further north you go, there's an energy, there's a kind of protection. And Canada is going to finally step up, and is not going to really get bullied by the United States and things like that. And if you read in the Bible, there's 5 conglomerations on the earth. Right now, there's 3. There's the EU, there's the other one, there's 3 of them in Europe. So you need 2 more, and the other 2 is Canada, United States, and Mexico. And then the rest is Central America, from the other side of Mexico down. That'll make 5 conglomerations where everything is ruled by corporations, and we're all under these tyrannies. And so these things will unite, and then it'll make these prophecies happen. But the Canadians and there's a kind of energy in the North and South poles, and whoever is closer there, they have a lot of influence on the earth. And Canada really has to step up and step into their truth. And I think Trudeau's really pushing us to that, because somewhere we're going to rebel against the government, and we're going to stop the government from having that power. We're going to take it back as the people's power. We will put people into the government. If they don't do the job, they're going to be taken out of there. Like, if you go in there to do something, if you don't do it, we're going to remove it. And something is going to happen where the natives come in and they really start doing things, because they got to bring in a lot of different stuff to help the planet. So they're going to unite eventually, is basically what it is. And it is going to do something to change. It's a big part of the changing the planet and other things.
Oh, geez, what was I going to say? No, it's gone.
May I ask, if are you allowed to own land?
You could.
I can buy it, but
Yeah.
they can come and take it if they want,
Yeah.
or whatever. If
They
I
can
bought
take it.
land,
Wow.
If I bought land, I'd have it under Cindy's name. That way they can't say or do anything. So, but I know a lot of natives that, like most of my life, I've tried to go to the bank to get like credit cards and things like that. For the longest time, I couldn't. And then Cindy put me under her name, and eventually I got a credit card, and because I never had any credit rating. Because I'm native, they wouldn't give me a credit rating. So I just started after I got with Cindy, and she got me under her bank account. I started building a credit rating. But I went to the bank many times trying to get different things, and they wouldn't help me because I was native.
Yeah. I'm reading right now a book, Indian Healing Practices, and it's written by an Austrian, by the way, but he lived for a while together with a medicine man, and he also talks about the word medicine man, that it's a very small scope actually, and it was given by the invaders. It's not really called a medicine man, it's just a common name right now, but you know, the scope is, we know what you're doing, so it's clearly not only a medicine man, it's working with the spirits. And at the beginning of the book, starts by saying, since the whites came to the continent, more people have been killed than throughout the whole history of humanity, like 86 million people, Indians. It's shocking.
Yeah, I've read where there was even more than that was killed on this continent. Like it went
Maybe I'm not quoting correctly, but it was a large number. Yeah,
it was really big, and they wiped out whole tribes. Like there was so much knowledge in that, and they say now those spirits are coming in. That's why they're coming into anybody. Don't matter where you're on the planet, these spirits want to come in and bring in their knowledge. So some people are like, they're born and they see themselves as native, and they look at all kinds of images. I had a friend in Edmonton, he was Chinese, and right from a little boy, whenever he looked in the mirror, he would see himself as a native, and he would have different paint, and sometimes he'd see himself with a headdress, and his parents would take him in stores, and he would run to anything that was native, and he'd point and he'd tell them what it was all about. And it drove them nuts, because all he wanted to do was go to powwows and kinds of ceremonies. He was trying to get his parents to take him, and they wanted him to go to the temple and pray and chant and burn incense, and he wanted nothing to do with it. And it was like he was 18 and he came into my life, and I started helping him to realize his soul is a reincarnated native that has all this knowledge and wisdom. But it was really hard, because he knew when he looked in the mirror and he was Oriental, but inside him, all he craved and wanted was native. So I helped him learn really lots of stuff, and it opened him up, and he started all kinds of things started happening. He got really afraid. He thought he was going crazy or insane. So eventually he went into Taoism. And so he shut everything off. He's in denial. He doesn't want to allow his spirit to bring in and show him all this stuff and make things happen. Like, it's just terrifying. And there's about 6 or 7 other people I've met on my path who were from other cultures. And they're like, I just feel like I'm fully native, but I look at this body and it's wrong, because I shouldn't know this native stuff. I shouldn't practice it. And I'm like, but the universe made it that way. That's what your soul came here to do. It's not about the body. The body is just a robe. It's just a vessel that the spirit is inside. That's where I'm like, people are meant to be shaman. People are meant to be medicine men, skywalkers, all these seers and whatever you want to call it. If there's something inside you desiring that, and you find the right teacher, and you're given this from the spirit world, it belongs to you. Nobody has a right to tell you you can't do this. Everything I've taught Cindy is hers to carry, teach, and do. There's no elder, there's no race of natives on this planet that cannot say she can do this, because God gave her. I helped her and I guided her along, and she honors and uses that. So when she went to ask these natives up here to go to do the vision quest, and they sort of told her no, then they're pushing her out, because the reason the creator brought her there is take this knowledge, share it with somebody. But they're like, no, it belongs to us, and we don't want anybody that's not culture. Even though I'm native, they will not accept me in there. They push both of us out of there, and I'm like, that's not what the creator's about.
Yeah, and it was, they understand it. It's our family. Only our family is welcome to do this. It's our family's land, and they just want to keep it within the family. And they have the right to say that, of course. I mean, and then I'm like, so then why did I ask? I'm kind of like, well, why was I moved to even ask to do this? And I can see that there's many things that are working on many levels for everybody, because, they also need to be stretched. What if we let this woman attend, or like, what does that mean for us? But then looking in their tribe, you can say, I guess, there's just so much death, right? There's a lot of drug abuse and suicides and such like that. And a lot of the youth are also not wanting to do these things. It's not saying that they're all not wanting to do it, but a lot of them are. So the teachings can get lost over time. And that's what was set up by the governments and such, right? You can't dance your dances, you can't sing your songs, you can't do your ceremonies, because they were taking it away from the people. And so then they kept it really close and hidden.
Yeah, they only gave us back our rights to celebrate, pray, and do ceremonies. I think it was in a little after 1960. But up until then, if you did it, you were put in prison. You could be put in prison for your whole life for, say, doing a UEP ceremony, and we couldn't say anything. It's like there was a law passed in the States and Canada where you can scalp an Indian. It was a legal law. You can literally scalp them, bring the scalp to the government and get paid. They only abolished that law, I think it was in 1970 or 1980. So anybody could walk up to a native, cut off the top of his head legally and go and bring it to the government and get paid for it. Like lots of crazy things.
How is this possible still in 2021? I mean, like
Right.
dances are still forbidden, like
No,
dancing.
they're not.
No, they gave us back the rights, but
Okay.
it's going to get taken away again. They're going to stop it, but people are going to realize and not be afraid. They're going to live in honor and do these things because you have to welcome and bring in those spirits that are going to bring the change to the planet. All cultures have to do that.
Yes.
You have to find whatever is your ancient culture and you have to welcome all those things, the star connections. You have to get rid of the superstition and fear because they're waiting to come to do the work. And they're trying to find people who want to honor and do this. And this is where I blow open the doors and I cross all boundaries. I don't give a shit. I can sit with a Jew and I can explain to him lots of stuff about his Jewish ceremonies and how they practice and their fasting. Because they do a vision quest like the natives, but they do it over a month instead of 4 days the way we do it. And they give it a different name. And there's lots of other things people have told me about, and it's like it has to come back. People have to open and say, okay, whoever's going to be here that's going to change the planet, come on in. We're going to stop the silliness, and I'm not going to be superstitious and afraid. I'm going to honor and respect you, and I'm going to go as deep and far in this as the earth needs in the future, and I'm going to help every man, woman, and child with what I can do.
And we all felt that way.
It triggered me now when Ian said, how is this possible now? Is this still possible? And when you, Joe, said it can come back, but I'm thinking it is possible when we're seeing what's going on with all the COVID measures, isn't it? So it's just another scope. It's just a different layer. It's not anymore segregation of a particular group. It applies to everyone now. But isn't it the same? Isn't it the same?
Yep, exactly. That's where you got to honor your journey, who you are and what's inside, what's making you crave to want to do these things and to get it out there and stop being afraid. If somebody says, oh, there's a Lizzie race. Yeah, so what? There's 100 billion other kinds of races out there. And we're here to all change and do things and work together. Majority of them want to resist and fight. Well, that's theirs. Go ahead and sleep. We'll just step into whatever is new and carry on and do wonderful things into the future. That's where I try to reach out to children and people and do the things I'm meant to. And that's where I've been praying for a long time for the universe to give me permission to start bringing really big things through where they've downloaded and showed me in that. But Cindy is getting closer where she's stepping into that. Then we can really open this up and really do a lot of big things. And I still feel you're a part of it, Zarina, because they brought you in, and there's Ian and even Elaine and so many others. And I want to be able to give an open space and hold and connect to anybody. So say something is going on in your life, just send me a message. Hey, Joe, can you look at this? I need a little help, whatever. And it's very easy for spirits to look at and change things. And I've done this my whole life. To me, this is just a normal way of being. It's not something that's going to take a lot of effort or work.
But that's the part where Joe understands his energy. He knows what's pulling him down, and he knows where he wants to be. So he doesn't allow himself to drop down really low. Now, how do you do it for yourself? It's like keep raising your consciousness, and when you raise your consciousness, you raise your vibration, your energy, and you'll still see the chaos that's happening, but then you won't get pulled into it. You'll still just watch it like it's a movie, and you're going to move through it. Like that book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I mean, he didn't understand it so much, but he just somehow got through all of those hardships. It didn't take the hardship away, but there's some kind of energy force or space around us that will take us and carry us through difficult situations. Tap into that.
Yeah, 30 years ago, I was at a ceremony, and there was this little medicine man was there, and he came and he had this really cool little pipe bag, and it had the tiniest little amazing bells I'd ever seen in my life. And when he walked, there was this beautiful sound that came off, because they're all hanging on these little tassels all the way down and at the bottom. And as he's walking, it made this really beautiful jingling sound. It sounded like Aries and all kinds of magical things coming out of the forest. It's just like, what's this sound? And I was at this ceremony, and this little guy came, and I didn't realize he was invited, and he was to talk to me and things. And so I was over with the other elders, and I prepared the altar for the ceremony, and I'd done everything, and I was going to make the tea. And one of them is, do you see that old man there? And first I heard the bells, and I glimpsed over, because it was just magical to hear these little tiny bells, the sounds they made. And so the elder told me, go and see him. We asked him to come here and talk to you. So I walked over to him, and he just broke out in this big smile, and he had the most amazing, beautiful energy. And it was this little tiny guy. And to me, it was like a little elf or something that just came out to do something really beautiful for this world. And he went into he opened up the universe, and he started bringing things through. And he told me lots of prophecies. He told me lots of things about my life and different things, like in a very, very short time. And he was looking, and he's like, in the future, when you have all the tools and all the things that are right, he says, and you're going to carry your pipe, he says, everybody's going to hate you. He says, all over this country, the natives, anywhere you go, because when you smoke that pipe and you speak, you're going to speak God's words, not your words, not anybody's, not anything from any other culture. When you speak and you work with this pipe, you're going to speak God's words, and people are going to get very angry, and they're going to attack you and hate you. And I'm like, so what's the difference? People have done it to me my whole freaking life. So as long as there are people there willing to stand up and go forwards and carry the knowledge. See, I was blessed to be a pipe maker, to literally make pipes for people who are supposed to be doing spiritual things. Whereas I pray, if I give you a pipe, and I prayed and I made it, and it was activated by the universe, it's like giving you God's Bible. Whenever you use this, the spirits will come in, they will show and tell you anything. That is God's blessing, not mine. I'm just the one that does the work. There's lots of things that went on that people don't know that I was blessed and showed and told. I carry many secrets. But when the universe says it's a time and right, I want to gift whatever God wants to gift to anybody, so they can honor and do really big things for the world. God hides people in all kinds of ways. People, they laugh at me and everything. I'm like, go ahead, do whatever you want. I don't really care. People call me names or challenge me thinking they're really wizards, and they play with spirits and that. I'm like, go ahead, do your own thing. I'm just going to keep focusing and going where I'm meant to go. Like I said, when I grew up, my family all feared me. I lived in a community of 900 people, and they were all scared shitless of me. As this little blue-eyed alien walking around on the streets, and everybody's like, oh, he's coming, lock the door, shut the windows, oh, don't let him in. And I just went on living. I'm like, who cares, you know? People are people. But if you really have that love and you really want to change this world, God will bring the most amazing things, and nothing can harm you. There's nothing. They can throw you in a burning furnace for days, and you'll walk out of there with not a damn thing happening. That's my belief for the whole world and everybody.
Thank you, Joe.
That was very visual. I was already seeing a burning furnace.
I wanted to share with you this medicine. It's tree conch. It's the fungus that grows on the diamond willow tree. It's what gives the diamond willow its shape. And you can see I cut off just a little chunk there and burned it for a smudge before we got onto the group today. It gives a really nice smell.
So this is the top of it when it's sitting on the tree, and this is the bottom.
That's true.
And you can see the bark on the back still from the tree and that where it was taken off.
Wow.
And this grows in cooler climates. So fungus goes into the tree and you can see the diamonds. It's really good stuff to use.
We have that. Are you sure it's only on the willow?
There's lots of fungus that will grow on trees, but this one specifically, for the medicine, it is on the willows and create that diamond shape on the twisted wood. And it's like marshy kind of lands where that one would grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I want to pick medicine again. I found there's a lot of bare root in this area. I didn't know. If I knew that last year, I would have been probably out searching and picking my own. So I want to pick a lot of new medicines this year. And while it's really, really fresh, I want to send some more to Zarina, Ian, and even a piece of tree conch so you can burn a little bit and smell it. It's really amazing because I've given it to people who have had really bad headaches and that. Like one time my dad, he told me I had a headache. I was going past. Spirit told me to visit him and I had a whole bunch with me. And he said, this damn headache, I've had it for 2 weeks. I've gone to doctors. They give me pills. They've done this. They've done that. And this headache just won't go away. And I'm like, oh, just wait. I'm going to go outside and get something. So I ran out to the van and I dug around and I found this tree conch and I brought it in. And he's like, what is this? I said, it's tree conch. It's medicine we use. And he says, so what? And he was like, yeah, what about it? And I said, just burn it. That's all you got to do is just go and just see if it will release your headache. So he's looking at me like maybe I was a little nuts or something. Yeah, you burn some fungus and doctors and scientists and that can't stop a 2-week headache. And I burn this silly fungus and it's going to do something. So he played along, well, I'll humor you. Maybe you're a little crazy. So he lit up some of the tree fungus and he burned it. And then we sat there and we talked. And half an hour later, he just looks at me because everything just lifted. It was gone. He's like, whoa, what happened? Just everything cleared up. And so I gave him a really big piece. And I says, well, if this ever comes back here, you can burn it again. It'll help clear out things. So that's why we know all the plants and that they are medicine. They know how to heal when you're asking. And that's what the ancient people did in every culture, whether you're called a medicine man, a shaman, a brewer, or whatever. Somebody came to me and asked me somehow to help them. I'll start meditating and then I'll pray. And then I'll walk into the forest and I'll ask in the forest, is there any plants or anything here that's going to help a person? And I'll say their name and I'll speak to the plant people. We call them the plant people, or the medicines, or the rooted ones, or the standing people, or the bark, or whatever. There's lots of different names. And we send this out and then we stay in a meditative state, and then plants will start calling to us, because when you combine them and work with them, they change everything. And this is what all the people who were connected into the earth, who worked and went into the forest to harvest, to heal their people and help, they would do that because the plants would speak to them, and the plants could even connect with you and see the image and know what's going on with the person. And then you would take this and give it to a person and it would change things for them. And this is how spiritual people do that. You can ask the universe to help you, and you can go and sit with a plant. It'll tell you everything. It'll show you everything. You put your hand on a tree and you ask, that tree will show you and tell you all kinds of amazing things. It's quite magical.
This weekend, we were really busy doing the work that we do. And one of the last clients that we saw, Joe was clearing her, and then he picked up on her hip and he says, you got something going on in your hip area? And she said, yeah, she did. And then he's like, well, get the spirits to come in there and look at things and, fix what needs to be fixed. And I guess on her way home, her phone rang, and it was the hospital calling for her surgery date for her hip. She had been waiting 1.5 years for that phone call to come in. And so she was like, holy smokes, like, I just got this clearing from this guy. And then all of a sudden I finally get that phone call. So she experienced a magic on it, in a different way with spirit energy too, right? And so now she'll have that hip problem fixed, with different medicine, but at the same time, it's like about healing your body, right?
Yeah, because when I plugged into it, it was right at the end, and I was like, "Oh, you have a hip problem?" And she's like, "Yep." I said, "Okay, we'll talk to the spirits. We'll see how they can make things happen and help." And so while I was finishing up the clearing, I was asking her guides and spirits, "What is interfering with her getting help? Can you find a way or look at it?" And I says, "Now we'll leave it to them to take care of." And then all of a sudden, she leaves. Next thing, she gets a phone call, and she's going to get help now that they can fix. And this is where talking to the universe is so amazing. The simplest little things you can ask them, and they have so many ways of fixing and correcting things. And the plants, they all have a soul, they all have a spirit. So when you talk to them, if you're really open, they will teach and show you everything. And this is a very powerful belief. It belongs to the earth children. Like in my culture, we say we are Guichin, which means the children of the earth. Every culture on the planet understood their connection to the earth and everything. So the ones who really believe, you can sit in the forest and ask any questions and you will get all kinds of answers. You can ask any plant anything and they will tell you things, even rocks. Really magical.
Any questions or thoughts or shares?
Yeah, it reminds me again of this book of Anastasia that I was reading, and one of the stories is about a woman, a medicine woman that I got bitten by something. So a story of a medicine woman who lived in the Vedic times, in the Vedic culture.
Remember all those books, they were good.
Yeah, they were very good. And she explains the same procedure that you just did for healing people. So she would go to the forest and talk to the plants or wait for the plant to call her.
Exactly.
Yeah. And one of the stories that was told was that there was a horse or a donkey, I can't remember, that was really sick. So what she did and how she healed animals was to just take them to the forest and to allow them the time to pick their own herbs to heal themselves.
All animals know that instinctively. Humans have disconnected. It's where the real healers and medicine people, we ask and then something comes and shows us. I don't know. I think maybe you needed some of that animal medicine. That's why you got bit. Maybe help you with some sort of healing. Because things like that happen for a reason. But when you're with somebody that's sick and you're a spiritual person, their energy vibration stays with you, whatever is wrong with them. So if you sit in the forest with plants, they're going to read that person's vibration. So if you explain to the plants, it knows what is going on and how to help that person. Because it's all energy. It all comes from the creator and it knows how to balance and fix things and do stuff. That's why I like telling people about the Anastasia books, because there's so many beautiful things in those books and they all relate to native spirituality and our knowledge and so many other kinds of things. And they take you really deep. And she even talks about future, like that one part in one book where that one girl, she dissolved those missiles. Remember, there was a part where she was a little girl and she didn't like
with
the
bacteria.
missile. Yeah. And in her mind, she just talked to the bacteria and they literally started eating all these nuclear bombs and missiles. They were literally deteriorating. And the government couldn't figure this out. And this little girl, she got so mad at when she heard what these nuclear bombs did. Like those bacteria went there and they just started disintegrating those atomic bombs. It was freaking awesome. And I'm like, that is a real truth.
Yeah. For sure, all the garbage in the seas can be cleansed with bacteria as well.
Oh, yeah, totally. Everything came from the earth. So she can make it neutral and turn it right back into organic material. That's not harmful. The earth is heating up because the sun every 100,000 years gets a little hotter. It's got nothing to do with the ozone or us doing that. It's a cycle. And if you realize this, you stop wasting a lot of time and energy believing and playing all these silly games and stuff they tell you.
Yeah, so focus on what you want to see in the world, in the earth, in your daily life, in your thoughts on your Facebook feed. Making those conscious choices and those conscious thoughts can change your world.
Can you share, tell those folks?
Oh, I've been reading the Telos book. It's the fourth one, or it's one of them. It's, I don't know, yeah. So she's channeling, so she's receiving messages telepathically. She's not having a firsthand experience, physical experience. And so she's asking questions of Adama Saint Germain and Mikos and a couple other beings, and they're sharing things, and they're talking about this earth and how it's just reflecting to us the chaos that's going on inside of us. And if we would allow that chaos to go away and be in harmony with the earth, it would respond in kind. Mm-hmm. So lots of little bits that I'm like reading it. I'm like, this is happening like right now, like so intensely with the government stuff. They talk about it, but it's a strange world, but an interesting time that we are alive and we get to choose and we get to experience and participate in. So there's something exciting about being here, being the person that you are, and living the life that you have here to live. It's like, it's an opportunity. Like, I would just be so disappointed to die and have to reincarnate and do this all over again. It's like, be here now, enjoy the ride, see how far you can take your soul, because this is like the greatest school. This is how I like to look at it. It's the greatest school to learn. And you're teaching your soul everything that you're choosing every day. It's like how you can take your soul to on the next level.
Yeah, and this is where I really like I've been doing this, and like I say, I looked at a lot of things and done a lot of stuff. And I remember back when in the 90s and that, I was getting really angry and I wanted to fight a lot of stuff. And I got pulled into that for quite a few years and wasted a lot of energy and time not being successful. It just took me down a rabbit hole and everything. And I realized it's like, no, then I'm not focusing on my meditations. I'm not focusing on asking about the future, doing different things, or attracting medicine people, healers and good people. It's just attracting me more and more and more and more negative people. And I was just going down and I was like, just so angry. And I'm like, I got to stop this. This is silly. This is not what I want to do. Really just move in that and really connect with the Earth Mother, because she is a very loving, living being. You've been playing parts of things for millions of years on her, evolving and learning. So why not trust her and let her help you? And that's where I like calling in the prayer of all of her children, because they all hear us, they all know us. And if you open that part of yourself, there's so many beautiful, magical things, and they take you into there. They open you up and they hold you in that space because they know you're going to go into the future doing things. So blessing yourself and giving yourself permission. But how much do you want to buy into what they're doing? Because every time you figure out one thing, they're going to start throwing another, and they just keep stressing you because they want you to be distracted, not focusing your mind with God's got all the answers, the Earth Mother, all of them. They know everything. They've been doing it for billions of years, and we're still alive on this planet. We're still evolving and doing things. So sometimes allowing those things in. So I like watching Cindy transition and out, and I'm like, oh, I remember when I was here, always doing that. Oh yeah, I gotta find these people and do this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I remember those years. That was a good time. So it's really beautiful to see people when they're in their stuff and when they come out, and when they grow and expand and then they close down. It's like when I do my energy clearings in person with people, and their energies just open up and they're so alive and they're so big and it's just magical and beautiful. And then they go off, and then a few days they pull all their energy back in. They shut their auric field down and they stop trusting, and they just don't want to feel and know anything. So it all closes back off. And then they come to me, I start working, it blows back open, and they're like, how do I stay in this? It says you have to learn to allow it to be open.
It's time we should get into the meditation.
So Cindy put a little bit of tree conk into the smudge today. Well, maybe the spirits will let you smell, or it may come through. We'll call in all the good things and we'll welcome them. Also for the people out there that may watch the video and receive answers, realizing they can get out of their fears and learn things and bring change and beautiful things into their lives too. And I mean, that's the biggest part is we need to learn all of this to support the children, because some of them are very awake and know what the future is, and they're looking for beautiful people they can look up to who are going to help them to walk towards the future and fulfill what they need. So that's where I like meeting the young children and realizing how gifted they are, and I try to let them know that somehow I will support them, say prayers and do things, but we will get there and all these changes and everything will come in. And sending the smoke to everybody and to all the people out there, and all the ones that we may meet in the future, to all the ones in the past, and the ones who have watched other videos who are seeking answers. Ask Creator to bring you peace. Ask you to sit still for a while and just trust the universe. Trust your own inner knowing. Allow the Creator to open up your mind, open up your heart center, open up your Dantan, your PowerPoint, the creative force, then going down into the Earth Mother as deep as possible to really, really connect with her and feel her love that she has for everybody and the things she wants to help us to get through and be successful in the future. Call her up and call her in, inviting her to fill your home, to bring blessings, to remove negativity, especially people who generate bad thought forms that try to interfere or affect or root command things that don't belong there, that she can remove and release it, keep you in a beautiful, safe place. She knows how to do this. We call in all her children, the 4-legged, 2-legged, ones, fairies, feathers, standing people, rock people, sky people, water people. Call in all the little creepy crawlers, the rooted ones, the berries, the herbs, and the medicines. We call in the sun and the moon that support life here on this planet. They are wise in their ways too. Call in the loving spirits of the east in the morning. Call in the loving spirits of the south in the afternoon. Call in the loving spirits of the west that come in the evening. And we call in the loving ancient spirits of the north that watch over us when we're sleeping in dream time, the ones that love us and are trying to encourage us to move into the future. And we invite all our angels, guides, ancestors to participate and be with us.